It was a Tuesday evening, a date forever etched in the grim annals of Willow Creek. The 14th of April, a typical spring evening, the kind where twilight paints the sky in hues of lavender and rose, promising the gentle warmth of approaching summer. But for the Sterlings, this evening would usher in an eternal winter. Richard Sterling, a successful architect known for his meticulous designs and even more meticulous routines, arrived home just after 6:30 p.m. His wife, Eleanor, a beloved kindergarten teacher, was usually there to greet him, her infectious smile a beacon after a long day. Their daughter, Sarah, a vibrant 16-year-old, would often be tucked away in her room, headphones on, lost in the world of her music or studies. But on April 14th, the house was silent, too silent. The welcoming aroma of Eleanor's cooking was absent. The faint strains of Sarah's pop music were gone. A cold dread, a premonition of something deeply wrong, began to coil in Richard's gut. He called out, his voice echoing in the sudden vastness of his home. "Eleanor? Sarah?" No answer. He moved from room to room, each empty space amplifying his growing fear. The kitchen, usually bustling, was pristine. The living room, where they often gathered, was undisturbed. Then he ascended the stairs. Each creak a hammer blowed his heart. What Richard found in Sarah's bedroom would haunt his every waking moment. Sarah, lying still, unnaturally so, amidst a scattering of books and papers. And beside her, Eleanor, her kind eyes wide, staring at a ceiling that offered no answers. Both gone, brutally murdered. The quiet suburban dream, ripped apart by a nightmare. The 911 call, a frantic, broken plea for help, brought the police to 142 Sycamore Lane. What they found was a meticulously executed crime scene. No forced entry. No signs of struggle beyond what was evident in Sarah's room. The house, otherwise, was pristine, a ghost of a perfect life, now tainted by unspeakable horror. The immediate question, who and why? Detective Miles Corbin, a veteran of the Willow Creek PD, took the lead. Corbin was known for his quiet intensity, a man who saw patterns where others saw chaos. And the Sterling case was pure chaos. The initial assessment was baffling. No obvious motive. No signs of robbery. It looked like an inside job, but who within the Sterling's close-knit circle could commit such an act? Richard, the grieving husband, was the immediate focus, as is often the case. His alibi, however, checked out. He was at a late meeting across town with multiple witnesses. Days turned into weeks. The investigation bogged down in the minutiae of daily life. Interviews with friends, colleagues, neighbors. Everyone spoke of the Sterlings with affection, describing them as an ideal family. No enemies, no dark secrets. The vault, it seemed, was empty of answers. Then, a glimmer. Eleanor Sterling had a younger sister, Clara. Clara lived out of state, but had been estranged from Eleanor for years. A bitter falling out over a family inheritance, long buried, but still a raw wound. Could this be a lead? Corbin flew to interview Clara. Her alibi was ironclad. She was on a cruise in the Caribbean at the time of the murders, with dozens of witnesses. Another dead end. The frustration mounted. The media descended, painting Willow Creek as a town gripped by fear, demanding answers the police couldn't provide. Amidst the desperation, a technician working through the extensive digital evidence stumbled upon something peculiar. The Sterlings had a state-of-the-art smart home system, complete with motion-activated security cameras. Most of these had been disabled or destroyed during the attack, meticulously so. But one was different. It was a small, almost hidden camera installed in the entrance hallway, disguised as a smoke detector. Richard, being an architect, had an affinity for discreet security. The killer, in their meticulous sweep, had overlooked it. It had continued recording the entire time. The footage was grainy, the audio minimal, but it was there, a window into the Sterling's last moments. Detective Corbin, along with his team, gathered in the viewing room. A chilling silence descended as the first frames flickered onto the screen. The tape began with mundane moments. Eleanor, bustling in the kitchen, preparing dinner. Sarah, laughing on the phone in the living room. A typical teenage evening. Life as it should be. Then, at precisely 7:17 p.m., the front door opened. Not with forced entry, not with a key, but as if unlocked from the inside. And into the frame stepped a figure. Tall, slender, wearing a dark, hooded jacket. The face was obscured by shadow. The figure moved with an unnerving familiarity, as if knowing the layout of the house. No hesitation, no fumbling, straight toward the kitchen. Eleanor, still at the stove, turned, her face initially registering surprise, then a flicker of recognition, followed by terror. The audio, previously just a low hum, picked up a faint, sharp gasp, and then silence. The figure dragged Eleanor's body, with shocking ease, out of the kitchen and out of the camera's view. Minutes later, the figure reappeared, moving toward Sarah's room. The next segment was crucial. The killer entered Sarah's room. The sound that followed were muffled, but the tension was palpable. A faint struggle, a muffled cry, and then once again, the chilling silence. Corbin paused the footage. The team was visibly shaken. This was no random break-in. This was targeted, personal, and the killer knew the Sterlings, knew their routine, knew their home. They replayed the footage, frame by excruciating frame, looking for any detail, any clue, the way the killer moved, their height, their build, and then a tiny, almost imperceptible detail emerged. As the killer turned from Eleanor's body, a sleeve hitched up, revealing a small tattoo on their inner wrist, a stylized S. A new lead, but the S could mean anything. A name, a symbol. The investigation took a sharp turn. They went back to every single person interviewed, re-examining their stories, their alibis, their connections to the Sterlings. Specifically, looking for anyone with an S tattoo. The list was long. Friends, former students of Eleanor, distant relatives, even delivery personnel who frequented the house. Each person had to be checked, their alibis verified, their forearms discreetly observed. The police worked tirelessly, driven by the chilling images from the camera. The pressure on Detective Corbin was immense. The community was demanding answers. The media was relentless. Every dead end felt like a personal failure. But the tape was a constant whisper in his ear. It held the truth. They just needed to unlock it. And then another detail from the footage, almost too fleeting to notice. As the killer exited Sarah's room, their foot caught on a loose rug, causing them to stumble slightly. In that brief moment, the hood shifted, just enough. A glint of hair, not dark, as assumed from the shadow, but a flash of red. Red hair, and S tattoo. These new descriptors narrowed the pool considerably. The focus shifted to anyone in the Sterling's orbit who fit this increasingly specific profile. The name that kept surfacing, the one that made little sense at first, was Stacy Peterson. Stacy was Eleanor's former student, now in her mid-20s. She had interned for Richard Sterling's architectural firm 2 years prior and had remained in touch with Eleanor. A seemingly innocuous connection. Stacy had always been an outlier, exceptionally bright, fiercely ambitious. Eleanor had spoken of her fondly, often mentoring her. Richard had been impressed by her talent during her internship. Yet, there was an undertone, a possessiveness, perhaps, that Eleanor had sometimes mentioned, dismissing it as Stacy's youthful intensity. Corbin's team brought Stacy in for another interview. Her alibi for the night of the murders was solid. She claimed to have been home, alone, working on a project. But this time, Corbin had a new weapon, the tape. They began with routine questions, subtly shifting towards her past with the Sterlings. Stacy remained composed, articulate, almost too perfect. Then, Corbin played the grainy footage. As the hooded figure moved across the screen, Stacy's composure began to crack. Her eyes darted, her hands clasped tightly. When the camera momentarily caught the flash of red hair, a tremor ran through her. Then came the S tattoo. Corbin paused the video on the blurred image. "Stacy," he said, his voice quiet, "we know you have a tattoo on your inner wrist. A stylized S, isn't it?" The air left the room. Stacy's carefully constructed facade crumbled. Tears welled, not of remorse, but of anger and a sense of being caught. She confessed. The confession, when it came, was as cold and calculated as the crime itself. The motive? A twisted tale of obsession and perceived betrayal. Stacy had developed an intense, unhealthy fixation on Richard Sterling. During her internship, she saw him not just as a mentor, but as a potential partner, a path to the life she craved. Eleanor, in Stacy's warped mind, was the obstacle. Sarah, simply collateral. Stacy believed Richard was meant for her. She saw Eleanor's kindness as manipulation, Sarah's presence as a constant reminder of the perfect family she felt she deserved. She had meticulously planned the murders, using her intimate knowledge of the Sterling home and routine, gained during her internship and her continued contact with Eleanor. She had disabled the main security systems, knowing exactly where they were located. She had worn gloves, left no fingerprints. She had even disposed of the murder weapon, a heavy ornamental letter opener from Richard's study, in a remote, wooded area never to be found. Almost a perfect crime. Almost. The overlooked camera, the tiny pinhole lens disguised as a smoke detector, became her undoing. The silent witness had captured everything. The desperate flicker of recognition in Eleanor's eyes. The swift, brutal efficiency of Stacy's movements. The momentary shift of a hood, revealing a flash of red. The S on her wrist. The weight of the truth settled heavily on Willow Creek. The community was left grappling not with a stranger's violence, but with the insidious betrayal of someone trusted, someone integrated into the fabric of their lives. But the camera wasn't just a witness to the act. It offered a chilling insight into Stacy's meticulous planning, her psychological descent into a calculated fury. We went back to the footage, analyzing her presence in the Sterling home in the weeks leading up to the murders. We discovered moments where Stacy lingered longer than necessary, her gaze sweeping over the security panel, testing door locks, observing the family's patterns. It wasn't just a visit, it was reconnaissance. Eleanor, in her boundless kindness, had given Stacy a spare key to water plants while the Sterlings were away on a weekend trip, just weeks before the murders. A gesture of trust cruelly exploited. The front door opening from the inside on that fateful night suddenly made chilling sense. The digital footprint of Stacy's obsession was equally disturbing. Her search history revealed queries about discrete security camera locations, undetectable poisons, and even psychology of serial killers. She was building her own vault of dark knowledge. Her phone contained hundreds of deleted messages, painstakingly recovered by forensic experts. Messages to herself, fantasizing about a life with Richard, detailing her resentment towards Eleanor, and chillingly outlining her plans. A meticulously crafted diary of malice. The camera also captured the aftermath of the crime. Not the immediate aftermath, but Stacy's movements as she exited the house. Hours later, long after Richard had found the bodies, she had returned to the scene. not out of remorse, but to meticulously wipe down surfaces, to ensure no trace was left. It showed her pausing, looking back at the darkened house, a ghost of a smile playing on her lips before she slipped into the night. A terrifying glimpse into a mind utterly devoid of empathy. She believed she had cleaned the slate, wiped away all evidence. The S tattoo, which seemed so trivial initially, carried a deeper, more sinister meaning. Stacy had gotten it after her internship, a personal symbol of her success, of her desire to steal Richard from Eleanor. It stood for Sterling. This was not just a crime of passion. It was a cold, calculating act driven by a delusion that festered over years. Eleanor's kindness had been misinterpreted as a challenge, Sarah's vibrant life an inconvenient truth. The camera hadn't just recorded a murder. It had recorded the chilling evolution of a killer's intent. The depth of Stacy's deception, her ability to maintain a facade of normalcy while harboring such dark intentions, shook the community to its core. It begged the question, how many such quiet monsters walk among us, their true selves hidden, waiting for the opportune moment? The discovery of the footage was a lifeline, a stroke of immense luck that saved the case from becoming another cold file in the vault. Without it, the S tattoo, the red hair, would have remained isolated clues, perhaps never connecting to the true culprit. Corbin often reflected on the sheer meticulousness of Stacy's plan, only to be undone by a single, overlooked detail. A testament to the idea that no matter how perfect the crime, there's always a flaw, a thread, waiting to be pulled. The case of the Sterling family served as a stark reminder. Even in the quietest of suburbs, behind the most unassuming facades, darkness can fester. And sometimes, the most silent witness is the one that speaks the loudest. Stacy Peterson was charged with 2 counts of first.